Please give a warm GGC welcome to Ms. Aimee Copeland, our keynote.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today, and congratulations, class of 2016. We're very proud of you all. Some of you guys who are local may remember me from May of 2012 when the flesh-eating bacteria ravaged my body. Some of you guys may recall how Gwinnett County really just banded together to support me in my time of need. And still others may recall how faith led to my survival despite all odds. But for those of you who don't, I will start at the beginning. It was May 1st of 2012, and I had just finished my last final exams at the University of West Georgia, where I was also working 3 jobs. That morning, I had gotten off my shift at my waitressing job at the Sunnyside Cafe, a local breakfast restaurant. And one of my fellow waitresses invited me to come over to her house, where a river ran behind it, to come hang out. She had bunnies and little baby birds, and I couldn't say no. It was a beautiful, warm, but breezy day, similar to today. And so we went back there and waded through the river behind her house. And as we did so, we stumbled upon an old homemade zip line. And I don't know about you guys, but I was raised in the South, and whenever we see a rope swing or some boards going up a tree, we don't ask questions, we just jump off it, right? So we each took a go on the zip line, and it was actually on my second go that I heard 2 of the most horrifying sounds I've ever heard in my life. The first one was the zip line snapping, and the second was my body hitting the sharp rocks below. And as I looked down, I saw that my leg was cut badly, perhaps the worst cut I'd ever had. However, what I didn't know is that it was harboring a deadly bacteria. I had necrotizing fasciitis, and my left leg was quickly rotting. It would be 3 days before we realized this, and I was immediately life-flighted to Doctors Hospital in Augusta. My left leg was removed at the hip, along with a large portion of my torso. Both my hands and my right foot would also have to be removed later. All my vital organs were failing, and I coded simply being moved from the stretcher to the table. And the doctors told my parents that I probably would not make it through the night. They asked what they could do, and the doctor's response was something they didn't expect. They said, well, you can pray. And that's what they did. And that night, my psychology department held an all-night prayer vigil in my honor as I laid in a hospital bed on the brink of death. My lactic acid levels that night rose to twice the survivable levels. Some of the words that the doctors used to describe my recovery were astonishing, mind-boggling, incredible, and unbelievable. However, of course, during all this time, I really had no idea what was going on. I remained in a drug-induced stupor every day, having to ask where I was and how I got there. Spending the entire summer of 2012 was certainly not my plan for my summer vacation, but through this journey, I've learned so much about myself, about others, and about the world. And today, as you take on this new chapter of your lives, I would like to impart just a few of those lessons onto you so that along with this wonderful education that you've been provided with at GGC, you might continue to live your lives with courage, dignity, and joy. One of the most important lessons that I learned that helped me to get where I am today is that compassion leads to healing. Not just for the person that you're feeling empathy for, but for yourself. And I know a lot of my nurses out here know what I'm talking about. When you help others, you realize that a lot of our issues in life are really petty and not that important after all. You realize that no matter who you are, there's always further down. If you're alive right now, it could be worse. I had the opportunity to learn this lesson in Shepherd Center, where I went for my rehabilitation. A lot of people ask me why I went to Shepherd Center, a spinal cord injury hospital, instead of somewhere that specialized in amputations. But I'm actually very glad that I did, as if I had been in an amputee hospital, I would have been the worse off there with quadruple amputations, whereas some people maybe would have been missing only one limb, perhaps below the knee, which in the amputee world we refer to as a paper cut. However, instead, I was here at this spinal cord injury hospital where both of my neighbors had quadriplegia. Neither of them could move anything below the neck. This quickly made me realize how lucky I really was and made me grateful for the most basic things. Also, working for organizations like FODAC, Friends of Disabled Adults and Children, allowed me to see how wonderful my life truly is and how blessed I am. It is the children at FODAC that have really gotten to me. I lived an entirely normal life up to the age of 24 and never thought about the kids that couldn't go to the skating rink, couldn't go to the birthday parties, couldn't play on the playground. This experience has made me so grateful and wanting to pay that forward to other people who are going through similar struggles and situations, because we all face difficulties. For me, it's easy to see because it's on the outside, but I guarantee you there are many people in this audience who are struggling, and together we can make a difference for one another. The next lesson that I had the opportunity to learn is a lot more practical. You may have heard, where there's a will, there's a way. I have discovered this to be so very true, because there's many things when I was in the hospital I thought I'd never be able to do. But it took me going home and being alone and having to, plug my phone in or make some food, and I would, push my head against the wall, put my leg up another way, and if I wanted it badly enough, I would get it done no matter what it took. And I'm here to tell you that's the same for whatever your goals might be. No matter what challenges in life you face, if you want something bad enough, you will find a way. But you've got to want it bad enough. And if you don't find a way, it probably means you didn't want it bad enough. And that being said, I still haven't figured out how to do the laundry. But, and there have been several times in my life when people have tried to tell me what I would and would not be able to do. And I kind of like it now when people tell me I can't do something, because I'm like, oh yeah, challenge. And then I make it my personal goal to prove them wrong. And I've had this happen several times. When I was first discharged from Shepherd Center, I had very long hair. It was August in Georgia. So my first question to my occupational therapist was, so how do I put my hair in a ponytail? And his response was, well, all the upper extremity female amputees I know just cut their hair short. Now granted, my OT was a man, and he was bald. Maybe not the expert on ponytails, but that day I made it my goal in life that not just for myself, but for all the upper extremity amputee females out there, that I would figure out a way to put my hair in a ponytail. And I probably failed the first 100 times that I tried, but on that 101th time, a voice just spoke to me and said, tie a loop in the end of the contraption that I was working with. And as soon as I did that, I got the ponytail first try. So if you want something bad enough, don't give up. Don't give up. Something as simple as a ponytail for me could be your biggest goal in life. Don't give it up, because it might be the 101st try when you get it. Now, this third lesson was actually imparted on me by one of my favorite nurses at Doctors Hospital in Augusta. Her name was Jacqueline, and she was a night nurse. And I think Jacqueline realized that I was going to have a lot of issues with these amputations being a young woman. The society that we live in tells you that to be beautiful, you have to be perfect and starving and look like their perfect model. And she realized that I might have difficulty accepting my new body. And she would talk with me constantly about what I really was and what the self really is, and made me realize that this body is just a vehicle here. What I really am, who I really am, is a spiritual being who is much larger than this. And one very meaningful thing that Jackie did, not to mention that she worked these 12-hour night shifts, she went home and sewed me by hand this rag doll, who I call Jackie. And what's so special to me about this doll is not that this woman went home on her off days and stitched it stitch by stitch, but rather it's what she wrote on the back of the doll's head. And I'll try to read it without getting too emotional. It says, Aimee, please remember, nobody is perfect. This doll is handmade with imperfections because we all are made different. It's what we do with what we have that counts. Love, Jackie. And I don't know about y'all, but I think every girl, probably every boy too, needs a doll like this to remind them of that. It's not about what you have, it's about what you do with what you have. And I like to rephrase that in a different way and say we can't control the things that happen to us in life. All we can control is how we respond to them. That's all. But a lot of people look at me, thank you, a lot of people look at me when I say this and they're like, but what about the stuff we can't control? Because that's the part I'm struggling with. And that's what I have to say to that is that's where faith comes in. That's where you have to believe within the depths of your soul that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. That's where you have to believe in this larger plan. I think a lot of times we want to know the plan. We want to know it step by step so we can be okay with everything. But trying to understand the vastness of reality when we have one tiny piece of the puzzle is like trying to teach a turtle calculus. You just can't do it. There's somebody else in charge. He's got the plan. Our job is to trust in him. Our job is to allow that will to be done. And so in those dark nights of the soul, you can have fear or you can have faith. And even in my darkest moments, when I've cried and I've screamed and I've been at the end of my rope, I've had to remember that at every tunnel, there's a light. And at the end of every dark night of the soul, the sun will rise. And I want to just make sure that you guys go out into the world believing that and not just being happy because your circumstances are good, but in the worst circumstances, can you remain true to those feelings? It seems like we're constantly going around saying this is good and this is bad, and I want the good, but keep away the bad. But we don't always know what's good and what's bad. People walk up to me and say how sorry they feel for me, but I'm here to tell y'all today, I got it going on, okay? What happened to me was not bad. So sometimes you just gotta suspend judgment and just trust. Just trust. And then finally, the last lesson I'll leave you with is that sometimes it's the chaos in life that allows us to grow the most. And this chaos in my life has led me to my calling, my passion, and that's to bridge the gap between accessibility and people with disabilities. I've always been an avid outdoors woman, and as I laid in the hospital bed with no legs, I thought, well, 5-mile hikes in the woods, probably not gonna happen anymore. But the longer I laid there and saw these other people also laying in these beds, watching soap operas day after day, the more I realized these are the people that need it most. These are the people who really need that connection with the natural world. And so after just completing my master's in social work, I'm moving on to start my own nonprofit organization that provides a community growth center for people of all ages and abilities where they can hike, camp, and seek other holistic counseling services. And so, graduates, I will probably need some of your help. I'm gonna need a lot of volunteers. So if my dream resonates with you, I would love to collaborate with you in the future. Please look me up on Facebook. Let's keep this dialogue going, and I would love to talk with you guys in the future. Thank you all so much for having me today, and congratulations, graduates!